Hello my friends, welcome to another video for Mobile Music Maker. I am your host Logan Jacob, and for this series I've been going through the Kymatica user guide for AUM. This is the second video in this series, and this section is going to focus on the nodes and how to create and adjust nodes as needed. So this is the second section under basics in the AUM user guide, which you can find at kymatica.com/AUM/help. If you'd like to follow along with the text there, I pretty much follow it straight down the page. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so let's talk about nodes real quick. So when you read in the manual and you hear people talking about AUM, they talk about nodes quite a bit. So the nodes are all of these different slots that hold something. They can hold an audio unit in there of some kind, or they can hold an input source or an output source or something like that. So each audio strip has slots to hold an audio input source, and then a bunch of effects, and then an output source. And then MIDI strips just have slots to hold MIDI nodes in them. Okay? So anything that you can drop in there is called a node. You can see that in Quanta, I've got that looks like Bleece Delay and Chorus, all as different nodes there. Oh, that's Bleece Reverb. Sorry, I misread the icon. And then Bleece Chorus set up as audio effects. So each of those is a node. Collider over here is a node. Okay. So if you need to add a node, if you have an empty slot, you can push the plus sign and you can drop it in there. So let's say we want to add some delay to our retro piano. So I'll just come down and grab a simple delay like the Bleece delay. And if I go back and just use my keyboard, now I've got a delay on it. Of course, I can start it up. By the way, if you notice that this was peaking out a little bit, it was going into the red up here. So I just pulled the fader back a little bit, and it brought that down a little bit. So now I've got a nice little delay on there, which actually sounds kind of cool once you add that collider effect to it. If I need to eject this node, if I say, yeah, you know what, I don't really like that delay, again, we're just going to drag it off to the side, and we're going to hit that. We can also, if we push it and hold it, we can go down here and hit replace, and we can drag in a different audio effect. But I'm going to go ahead and keep that one. But let's say we want to add something else to it. We want to have multiple effects to it. So there's a couple of things you can do here. You could scroll to the bottom like that. So what I've actually done is I'm using the mod wheel to scroll. You can also use your finger to drag this up, and it scrolls. And then you get a +1 sign down here, and that adds, and if you know I'm gonna put 4 or 5 in there, I'll go ahead and drop those in. You can also simply double tap on the empty area to add it. So if I just double click there, it starts giving me as many as I want. Okay. So then I've got my option to go in and add other things to it. So let's add, how about some phaser? And then some reverb. And now whenever we play, so we've got a few effects on there now that we can play around with. Now let's say we want to reorder this. We want our phaser to actually happen before our delay. We can grab this and drag it out and then drag it up. We actually have to drag it in. So if we grab it and drag it in, then we can drag it up. Now one other handy thing about this, when we do this, you see that little percentage sign that shows up right above the title? That is our DSP. That lets us know how much processor we're using here. So each of these effects is using a little over 1%. Reverb tends to be a little more processor intensive, so it's using about twice that, at 2.3, 2.4% or so. So that's kind of handy to be able to have. Our retro is using 3.5%. Quanta uses just 0.3. Things like that it are good to be able to see, okay, something's eating up on my processor speed. Let me grab it and kind of see what's going on there. And of course, you can keep track of your DSP up here. Now, let's say that we need to delete a slot. We've got these all empty ones and we don't want them showing up. We can just long press on it and click remove slot. And we can get rid of all of those empty slots. Now, let's say that I really like the phaser effect and I want to add it to my Quanta, but I've got this set up on a preset that I really like. So I can actually duplicate that node. So I can, if I long press on it and hit select, that'll let me know that this is now ready to copy. So I can come over here and then hold that and hit either copy here or move here if I want to move it. If I hit copy here, that drags that fader, that just pops it up right there. So if I decide that I want to add the same effect to multiple different channels, then I can just copy it and move it that way. Now, let's also say that instead of chorus, I decided I wanted to have that phaser effect. What I could do is, instead of deleting that and then dragging the other one up there, which would work, but I can also just swap this one for something else. So again, I'm going to select this one, and then I'm going to long press this, and if I hit swap, it's going to actually replace or change that out. Now if I hit swap again to go back to where I was, there we go. And then if I just want to replace it completely with something different, then I would hit replace. Okay, or if I want to copy it, I can copy it here, get rid of that, and now I've got it where it needs to be. Now, there are certain nodes that you might want to have that would be post or pre-fader. So by default, they tend to be pre-fader. So everything is going here and then into the fader. But let's say I added something that I wanted to be after the fader, something that maybe sends audio somewhere else. So let's say I've got something like scatter that allows me to send different signals around, and I don't want that to show up pre-fader. I want that to be post-fader. So let me create an audio. So I'm getting a section of scatter going here, and then I want to click on that, and I want to say, let's make this post fader. So do you see how that line popped up here? All of these are pre-fader, but this one is post fader, so that if I turn it down, it'll also turn down what's being sent over there. So let's say I play this. So you can see that my audio is occasionally being sent over here based on how scatter is behaving. So now if I turn this down, it also controls how much is coming over to this. So let's say I have it, on this to where only a little bit is being sent over here. As I turn it down, it continues to only send a little bit over there. That's probably a pretty small case for if you're a beginner. You're probably not worrying about that at all, but I just wanted to show you how to do that because it is in the manual at this section. Okay, that is the entire section on nodes. For the next video, we will get into sessions and all of the fun ways that you can interact with those. and then we'll move into signal routing and get into some of the nitty-gritty parts of AUM, some of the more advanced stuff. So I thank you for checking us out, and if you like the video, please like and subscribe. Share it with your friends. Anybody that you know is starting out on AUM, you can send them a link to this playlist, and that will hopefully get them started. And we will talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.